Real people, real opinions.
Real Talk Radio, the multi-award-winning Niall Boylan Show.
Ireland's classic hits.
Now, you may have heard in the news this week the government is hoping to allow council tenants to rent out their rooms in their houses for up to $14,000 a year tax-free, similar to the laws they brought in back in 2017 for private house owners who can. So if you own your house, you can rent out rooms in your house and you don't have to pay any tax. You need to make a return now, by the way. Can I just point that out to everybody? So if you do charge people money, you need to make a return to the revenue. But once it's under $14,000 in one single year, you don't have to pay a penny tax. If you go over $14,000 by even 1 cent, you have to pay tax on the whole lot. Anyway, they're now extending that scheme. It would be part of the rent-a-room scheme to council housing. Now, a lot of people are saying, this is a good idea, but senior ministers agreed at Cabinet to extend the scheme to all housing types. So for the first time, council tenants will now be able to rent out their spare rooms. So let's say Johnny and Mary live in a 3-bed house, a council house. They only take up 1 bedroom, so they could rent out 2 rooms invariably. And in Dublin at the moment, you would get 1,200 quid for a room, 1,100 quid. That's $2,000 a month. They might only be paying about 30 quid a week rent, because it's subsidised rent paid by the taxpayer, of course. Because that's what the state does for people who can't afford it, or people who are out of a job, or people who are on low income. But essentially, they're making more than they're actually paying based on the taxpayer subsidising their rent. A lot of people are saying, this is not a good idea. Why would you do that? If they're going to do that, we should be charging them tax to get some of the money back again. But no, the government are not going to do it. €14,000 tax-free. Is it a good idea? The government are claiming it's a good idea because it could make 26,000 rooms available for students, for anybody who wants to rent a room, and help with the housing crisis. Or indeed for refugees who are here looking for somewhere to stay. I want to know what you think. Should you be allowed to make money off a house given to you by the government, essentially? Or given to you at a very low rate by the government, depending on how much rent you happen to be paying? Somebody suggested in a text, by the way, when it comes to Ukrainian refugees, the government should be just saying that people can stay in other people's houses, in rooms, because after all, the government owns the houses. I don't know how fair that would be, mind you. But should you be allowed to rent a room out, tax-free, if you live in a council house? Let me know what you think. The number's 087 188 0008. People are doing it illegally at the moment anyway. Let me go to Robbie. Robbie, you're in Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. How you doing, Robbie?
Not bad, how are you?
Good. Robbie, is it a good idea?
I think it is a good idea. I do understand, though, from a lot of people saying, oh, well, look, the taxpayers paying the brunt of it, but not necessarily, because the 2 people in the house could be paying tax anyway. Like, just because they have a council house, if it, as you said, Johnny and Mary, like, they could be working full-time jobs and still have their council house. So
yeah, but they wouldn't be paying very much tax, because realistically, if they're in a council house, they're obviously on low income.
Well, not necessarily. Like, if they're both of them are doing 40-hour-a-week jobs, and Mary is a manager of the store and Johnny works in IT, like, they're getting a good salary. Yeah, the rent is still.
But are you entitled? Yeah, but your rent goes up the more money you earn, of course. But are you entitled? Are you entitled to a council house if you earn over a certain amount of money? You're not really, are you? You shouldn't.
No,
but you
you're
shouldn't
not.
be.
You're not. But if you, to get it, you have to be earning a certain amount of money, but then your rent is reviewed based on your income. So if Johnny and Mary were unemployed when they got their house, and now all of a sudden they have their house and Johnny and Mary are now employed.
But the most they'd be paying is, I think the most you pay is $350, right? And that's for your 3-bed house, right? I think, as far as I know, that's about the most you pay, and that's in the Dublin area. So if you're renting out 2 rooms, if you've got 2 spare rooms and you're renting them out and making, $2,000 a month out of them, that's a substantial and tidy profit that you're making, considering you're getting subsidised rent. I mean, if you were renting out a 3-bedroom house and you were a private citizen, or when I say a private citizen, if you weren't getting a council house, you'd be paying $2,000. So you wouldn't be making any profit renting out your rooms. So what I'm saying to you is, it's a bit unfair, isn't it?
It is, but what would have to happen is then, as you said there, that the cap on it is €350. I think then that cap then would then have to be either lifted or reviewed depending on the income in that house.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So why don't we say, well, okay, you can rent out a room, we give you permission to rent out rooms, but here's the thing, that would be then considered to be income. And that
Yes,
would be fair.
or-
Then your rent goes up accordingly.
Yes, like something like that. I do think it's going to be, but I think with the government coming out and saying, "Oh, this is what,"
Oh, we've lost you.
it's very.
Oh, you're back.
There's a lot of fine detail to go into it. I think to
Yeah.
make everyone happy, and I don't think. Our government is amazing for bringing out all these plans and ideas and
Pie in the
roll
sky
up
stuff. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, then the whole island goes crazy because one half is upset that the other half is getting everything. But I think it is a good idea to allow people to rent, but I do think there's a lot of finer detail to go into to making it happen. I don't think, yes, if they're allowed to earn that much by renting the rooms, then I think their whole review of their rent has to be reviewed as well. There should be no cap on it then. As you like, they own the house, the council, so they can review it to whatever amount they want. So if they see fit, they can say, well, look, now your rent is €1,000 because now you have this extra 2 rooms to rent.
Okay, well, stay there. Let me go to Maureen. Well, hang on, Robbie. Let me go to Maureen. Maureen, you're in Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. How you doing, Maureen?
I'm not too bad, Niall. How are you?
Good. Maureen, look, well, according to Robbie and according to the government, it could make 26,000 rooms available to people at a knockdown rate.
Well, I am in a council. I just sit for 2-bedroom, but I wouldn't rent my room out to anybody.
Well, that's your
I
choice.
think it's ridiculous. Ridiculous. I really do, yeah. I really do. And this is, again, this coming from the government, right? Because I wasn't paying much attention to it because I'm so pissed off at the rest of what's going on.
Okay.
So that flew by me, so I wasn't paying much attention to it.
Yeah.
But, so, do they get to keep all the money so nothing goes to the council, right?
Nothing goes to the
people
council,
get
no.
the
They
money.
get to keep the money, yeah.
Right, okay. So this is the government now because they're up, put it this way, they're up shit creek.
They are.
So now they want people, in the council houses to start renting out their rooms. Stop. What a circus.
Yeah, well, you don't have to rent it. There's nobody going to force you to rent it out now, you know what I mean?
I know that, but
Yeah.
it's not a good idea.
Well,
That's not
it
what
means
it's
you
all
could
about.
rent out a room in
Crisis.
your house, but you could rent out a room in your house, and I'm not having a pop, right? But I know you're getting your rent at a reasonable rate because it's subsidised by the state, because it's
yeah.
council. Okay, so but you could rent out a room, and you could make I don't know €1,000 for a month for renting out the room, and tax free
know.
in your pocket, Maureen. Boom.
I know, but I wouldn't do it now.
Well, morally,
I love my space. I personally wouldn't rent out a room in my house to anybody.
yeah, no, you're right.
I love my space, I just wouldn't.
Yeah.
And I think it's ridiculous. And this is the government trying to find a way to get out of a bloody mess that they've created, and the worst mess they're making now, by saying, oh, well, there's more rooms and places for people to go. What a load of nonsense. To me, it's nonsense anyway, to be honest with you.
Okay, well, hang on. Let me go to Ross as well. Stay there, Maureen. Ross, you're in Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. How you doing, Ross?
Well, Niall, how's it going?
Good, Ross.
I agree with Robbie and Maureen there.
You agree with? Well, they don't agree with each other, but go on. Yeah.
Well, no, Maureen's in the same. She thinks it's a ridiculous idea, and in fairness to Robbie, the finer details need to be looked into. So they both have very good, valid points. In fairness,
Yeah.
and I'd more or less echo what they said. Now, in theory, the government put this stupid proposal together and thought it was a great idea, but realistically, you think of it, you have a council house and you're going to let 2 complete strangers come into your home. I'm sorry, but I don't think there's any money would pay you to do that. Now, another thing as well, all right, here's a quick example of how messed up the whole social welfare system is, okay? I've worked my whole life. I'd say I've been unemployed in my whole life, maybe 8 months in total, and that's broken up from, businesses closing down, recession, carpenter, and no building work, whatever, unemployed, blah, blah, blah. And anyway, I lost a job in 2014.
Right.
And so I was unemployed, grand, okay?
Yeah.
Claimed me stamps for 9 months. I said, right, I'll mind the child. Wife was doing social care at the time.
Yeah.
And so she was all over the country. And I was like, look, I'll stay at home. And then my stamps ran out. So I was like, right, okay, they're not giving me anything. So I was like, right. So I went on to the job seekers. And So they had to means test us then.
Right.
So now we were in rental accommodation at the time, and someone actually means tested us. Now, they're very quick to means test you, but someone means tested us, and because of what my wife was earning, they decided to give me €9.40 a week.
It's a bit of an insult, isn't it?
€36 a month. It paid the
So
sky
that
bill,
wouldn't even
was
get
it.
to that wouldn't even get to the bus fare to go in and collect it.
€9.40. Someone actually sat in our social welfare system in an office and said, "Let's give this fella €9.40."
I'm
That will show
I'm
you how
curious.
backwards.
I'm curious why they just didn't say a tenner. You know what I mean? Why
It's
€9.40?
absolutely
Like,
baffling. I have the letter and I have everything. I have the letter. I kept them because people actually don't believe me when I tell them, and I have to show them. I keep them because these things should be framed. Someone actually sat in an office and said, "Give this man €9.40."
yeah.
Now I had savings.
Okay, we're gone off on a bit of a tangent, but I have to say that's quite
Oh,
bizarre.
yeah, but
no,
anyway,
it's quite a bizarre story. I know, and I get you. And I'm glad you told me about it. But getting back
Now,
to renting a room, so are you private house at the moment, or where are you living? Are you renting?
We're renting at the minute, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
private
Now, we actually
renters,
got
or
approved
are you on a hap?
private. No, God, no. We
No,
wouldn't.
what do you mean, God? No, I'm only asking. Is he gone? Jeez, are you there? That's the second time his phone is gone. Paul, you're on Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. How you doing, Paul? Say that, Maureen.
All right, Niall.
All right, Paul.
Yeah.
Now, Paul, Paul, hang on, Paul. First things first, you got to take your phone off speaker. Yeah. Yeah, because it sounds like you're at the other side of the room. You know, it sounds like you're down the bottom of a well.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah,
I am.
yeah, but
I'm looking for gold.
can you take your phone off speaker?
Can I just ask you, Niall, have you got a bit of a hang up or something with people who live in council houses?
I was raised in a council house, Paul.
Yeah, you see, this is every time we start to come on to this conversation about council houses,
Yeah,
you kick off with this. And this, I know, your history is there.
Yeah.
You came from a council house.
I did.
So your father had a good job, right?
He ended up with a
He
good
was on a
job,
good
yeah.
wage.
Yeah. But
He
everybody
managed
had
to buy
council
the
houses. Everybody had council
Yeah, he
houses in those
managed to
days.
buy it.
Yeah,
Your father and mother died.
yeah.
The house was left to you and, I don't know, your brother or sister.
Me
or
sister,
whatever.
yeah, me sister.
And
yeah.
you sold that house.
Yeah.
You sold that.
Yeah.
And that gave you a step on the ladder, Niall.
Yeah.
Some people are not that lucky. You know,
Oh, I know, I know.
education and stuff like that.
Oh, I'm
they
thankful.
mightn't be
I'm
that
very,
lucky.
Paul, I'm very
But
thankful.
every time you come on, Niall, it's always about people in council houses.
No,
There's
hold
a lot
on,
of good
Paul.
people,
Right now, when you finished, Joe.
hard-working people in council houses.
Right, are you finished your rant yet?
I am finished. Yeah, I am finished.
All right, okay. The point I'm making, Paul, is, right, you're allowing people... Now, let's be clear. If you're in council housing, your rent is subsidised. I'm not having a go. I'm just saying your rent is subsidised by taxpayers, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you're saying, well, you can rent out a room and make a lot of money, and we won't even tax you on it, and we're not even going to consider that as income, so we won't increase your rent. It does seem a little bit
Right,
unfair
so
on the
what
taxpayer.
is the big problem, though, with council houses?
There's no problem with council houses. They're lovely.
There is.
They're
There is
lovely.
a problem with it, Niall, because you're on every couple of
Oh,
months with the
Jesus.
same conversation.
I thought you were
about
finished.
How many people
I thought
are
you were
in-
finished.
in arrears?
By the
council
have you got a
houses.
tambourine in the background there? I thought you were finished.
No, I'm not finished because you kicked it off again.
I didn't. I'm only telling
Because
you the
like
story.
you and I were talking about free speech and stuff, and you're the exact same. If people don't agree with you, you're meant to be like the referee.
Yeah, I
between
am.
Two people.
I am, yeah.
Nobody is too interested in your opinion.
Yeah,
You know, that's what the radio station is about.
well, I'm listening to you, Paul. I'm listening. Paul, have I cut you off, Paul?
And say their bit.
Paul, have I cut you off yet?
No, they haven't cut me off
No,
yet.
no, and they won't. No, they won't.
No, and they won't.
No, they won't. Now, getting
they
back,
won't.
getting back to the topic at hand.
There are so many people in arrears in council houses.
There
is. What
is.
you say.
Yeah,
It's the
lot.
job of the council to track them people down
Mm.
and make sure that they are paying their rent.
I didn't even.
Not for other people who are paying their rent,
you've a lot
for
to
their
say.
rent to go up
He's
every
loads to
year
say, hasn't he?
to subsidise other people.
Paul,
If it's social
Paul,
welfare
I never
and-
even mentioned arrears tonight. You did.
For artists,
Okay.
we wouldn't be in the situation we're in.
Right. Are you finished
Good
now?
night now, Niall.
Ah, Jesus, Paul, you're not even going to let me have a conversation with you. Look, your wife is in the background giving out, is she?
No, I'm not.
No, I'm not.
I totally agree with him. I totally agree with him.
Are you giving out in the background? Did you say to him,
No, I'm not
Paul,
giving out.
get
I
onto
just-
that
we
radio
both
station?
We pay our rent, and every year, if I get a pay rise or he gets a pay rise, our rent goes up every
I
single
know.
year.
I know. I never
They
said it
take our
didn't.
every pay rise we get, they actually take off us.
Okay. But did you
So,
say,
like, we're not saying, like, we know there's loads of people don't pay their rent.
what's your name, by the
Why
way?
should we, like, we're paying tax. We both pay tax. Always worked since we're 14 years of age. I've raised 3 children. Wasn't in a position to buy this house when it was a thing.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
know, so, but, like, that doesn't say that we shouldn't be living in a council house because we're both working.
No, nobody said you shouldn't be.
You know, but that's what we kind of get from you, Niall, every time you go on about.
No, well, here's the thing. I believe. Well, hang on, and do you want to let me respond? Do you want me to let me respond? Okay, let me respond to what you just said. Okay, and I believe, and I absolutely agree with you. If your income is low, or if you're unemployed, or if you can't afford to buy a house, which are very expensive nowadays, the state is there to try to help people, and that's what council housing is for. My father would have been in the same situation many, many years ago, and when he first rented a house off the council, mind you, most people in Ireland would have been in that situation when Sean Lamass started building council houses in Dublin Corporation first. And yes, Paul is right. I benefited from that because he bought the house from the council because the council stupidly sold all the houses to people at ridiculously low prices. And I got the benefit out of that. But here's the thing. All I'm saying to you is, because the rent in council housing is a lot cheaper than private housing, and it is a lot cheaper because it's paid for by the state, it's subsidised by the state, right? Well, hang on now. Let me just finish. Let me just finish what I'm saying. I'm not having a go at anybody.
Your rent is
Oh,
fine.
Jesus. Yeah, but
No, listen,
but your
rent is
rent.
fine.
Yeah, but your rent will never be as high as somebody else renting a 3-bedroom private house ever.
But they will own their house.
No, I'm talking about if I go out tomorrow to rent a 3-bedroom house, I'm not entitled to social housing, right? So if I go out to rent a 3-bedroom house tomorrow, it'll cost me $2,500 to rent a month. Yeah, you're never going to be paying $2,500.
But we never owned this house.
No, but neither would I if I was renting a private house tomorrow. I'd never own it. All I'm saying is...
I know, sorry. I thought you meant if you're...
No,
yeah.
all I'm saying is council housing to rent is cheaper than renting renting privately. Of course it is. Because it's subsidised by taxpayers and by the state.
Yes,
Okay?
I am a taxpayer. We both
I know, I
taxpayers as
didn't
well.
say you weren't.
So,
I didn't say you weren't.
I mean, the state...
Do you feel
like,
do you feel
as my husband
judged?
said, the council should be... If we move in here and we're living here, and they should be saying to us, there, you can buy the house for such a price if you want to buy it. And the rent that we paying on this house...
Should be taken off it.
Like what they done years ago.
Yeah, I know, but they're
They don't
not.
do that
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah, no, they're not going to do that anymore because they made a mistake when they did that. They shouldn't. have...
44 years living in this house.
Are you?
44 years.
Can you remember how much you paid in rent with the first day you rented it? Can you remember how much you paid?
I think it started off around £25.
Oh, that was expensive 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was, yeah.
Because we were both working.
Yeah. By the way, Maureen,
Yeah.
well, hang on, stay there. What's your name, by the way? I don't get your name.
Joan
and Paul, right? Joan, did you tell Paul to ring in, by the way? Did you say, Paul, ring in that fella on the radio and give out to him?
No, I rang in and then I wouldn't talk to you. Very mad.
Well, Maureen,
Yes.
are you listening to Joan and Paul there? I am. And what are you making tea in the background, or what's whistling in the background there, Maureen?
No, the line is very bad tonight.
Oh, there you go. Okay, I don't know where you are. You sound like you're up the mountains or something. I don't know what's going on with you. But Maureen, you've been listening to the two of them, and basically what they're saying is that basically people are judging them because they live in a council house. That's kind of what they're saying. But you live in a council house. Oh, Jesus, Maureen sounds like she has a tambourine on in the background. What the hell is going on with people tonight? Paul, you're a lovely fella. I like you, Paul.
I think you want to
try and get your phone lines looked at. You're saying to everybody, I'm in a well, that woman's somewhere else.
That's because you were in a speaker. That's because you had it on speakerphone over the other side of the room so Joan could hear it. The two of yous are there. Yous are ganging up on me.
Why not? We're just making a point. Like we could rent out a room, but we wouldn't rent out a room. I wouldn't have anybody else in my house.
No, I wouldn't do that either.
Honest with you.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do that either. No.
We're both working. We're both going out all day. So if someone else living in your house that you don't know, a stranger.
Yeah,
no.
we'll stay there. Well, hang on, Joan. Stay there for a second because Eamon, you're in Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. How you doing, Eamon?
Not too bad, no. Not too
Good.
bad.
You listen to Paul and Joan there giving out. They feel a bit judged, to be honest with you. But
they're making no sense.
They're making no sense. Oh,
No sense,
jeez,
no.
don't rile Paul up. I swear you wouldn't want to mess with Paul.
No, you wouldn't rile me up.
So, Eamon, do you think it's a good idea to allow council houses tenants to rent the rooms?
No, not at all. Let them rent it out and get the 14k, but don't make it tax-free. And if it is income for them, like the whole point of social housing is give people a house. They don't have a house. And if you have John and Mary, they have 5 kids.
Or Paul and Joan, as the case may be.
Or Paul and Joan in this case. They have 5 kids. The kids grow up, move out. And now they have a 4-bed council house, okay? And they have the rooms to rent out. That defeats the whole purpose of having a council house. Give them a smaller council house. Give that council house to a family. I mean, if you're in a council house, you shouldn't have the spare rooms. I mean, we should be fitting them with families, essentially.
Well, that's what they did in England. In England, they brought in the bedroom tax. They're going back a few years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, Paul is not happy at all. Paul!
It makes no sense. It's unfair because I pay, €500 a month in a house share. So that owner's getting $2,000 off of us.
Yeah.
But let's say if I did own the house, they're at an unfair advantage. They're paying way less in rent. They'll never pay as close to the rent that I'm paying. Okay? And then the government, my taxes are going to subsidise that anyway. Then the government are going to turn around and say, come here, lads, we're giving you $14,000 a year tax-free. It's not going to affect the total amount of rent you pay. So they might be paying, what, 30, 40 euro a week, I don't know. Something small, very, very small relative to the standard person's rent. And then they're getting this $14,000 handed to them.
Well, here's the thing. I don't disagree with, although I don't know the legal ramifications of allowing somebody to rent rooms in a council house because who's insuring it? That's what I would want to know. Anyway, leaving aside the legal ramifications of it, unlike the private housing, which somebody owns and they're entitled to rent out if they want to rent out, but I would suggest that if you are going to allow people to do it, that they should have to pay tax on the money, like you said, or the 14,000 that they earn, if they do earn 14,000 or whatever they earn, should be classed as income. And that then should be relative to how much rent they pay themselves, if you know what I mean.
Exactly. Make a new, we have the private renters, they can get their $14,000 happy days. And if you're in a council house and want to rent out a room, create a separate scheme with separate rules to it, so they can still get. So let's say give them $5,000 a year, give them $6,000 a year, but don't give them $14,000 a year. Some of that has to go back to the taxpayer, back to the government to build more.
Because I don't think there's anybody in this country paying 14,000 for the whole house off the council. Because as far as I know, the most amount of rent in any one particular area, be it Fingal or be it Dunleary or whatever, Cork County Council, I think it's about $350 is the most that you pay in rent for a council house. Now, most people are not paying.
That's a month, is it?
That's a month. Now, most people are not paying anywhere close to that. A lot of people are paying kind of 25 or 40 or 50 quid or 100 quid a week or whatever it is, the very most. You know what I mean? So I don't think anyone is paying anywhere close to that kind of figure, you know? So it does mean that if you rent out a room, your tenants are actually paying 3 times as much as you are to rent a room in your house.
Exactly, and all that's going to do is create a sense of resentment for John, taxpayer, who's going down the road and paying his taxes, paying his mortgage off in his house, and he sees some of that. I'm not saying that people that live in council houses don't work, not that at all, but you can imagine seeing a lad outside having a fag and he's got his students renting out upstairs $14,000 tax-free. That's not giving him an incentive to go out and make more money because he's getting $14,000 tax-free. There's no incentive there.
Yeah, and he's not paying for the house in the first place. Well, stay there for a second because Pauline, you think you're in Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. How you doing, Pauline?
Hi, Niall. How are you?
Good, Pauline.
Yeah, I don't really have any knowledge of the county council system. I my own home or the rented system. So, but what I do think is probably more or less what you said. People are doing it anyway because it's logical to have a spare room. But a lady who I think has some disability, but I don't know well enough.
Can you move into a different room there, Pauline, because you're breaking up?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just saying a lady that I spoke with recently who was saying she has just gotten her county council house. I believe she has some kind of disability, but she didn't discuss it with me. But she did tell me that she has no option to buy her home until the next 25 years has passed. And to the best of my knowledge, she's in her, I think, 60s.
Right, okay.
There's no fireplace. You're not allowed to have an open fire anymore. Excuse me. And from now on, as opposed to the way it used to be, where people had an option to actually buy their home, that's not allowed anymore. And on top of that, she will be assessed every year to see if she still deserves to keep that home. Now,
that's fair, Pauline. That's fair enough. That's the way it should work.
That's your opinion.
No, it's not my opinion. That's the way it should work. I mean, the reason you get council housing or state-funded housing or state-subsidised housing is because you're not in a position yourself to buy a house or rent a house privately because you don't have the money. So it should be reviewed. Because if you get a better job or get a rise in your job, it's not fair.
Niall, if you're ringing me for my opinion, let me give you my opinion.
I'm just challenging your opinion.
Yeah.
You're all very angry tonight. Is there a full moon or something, for God's sake? Sorry.
Let me reply.
Yeah.
In the old days, apparently, not that I know of this from experience, because like I said, I bought my own home. In the old days, some of my friends' parents, a couple of particularly lads, funny enough, their parents were given an option to buy their home.
That's right.
From the day they got it. Now you have to wait 25 years. If at 60 you have to wait 25 years, you'll most likely have popped your clogs.
Well, here's the thing, Pauline. Let me come back to you again on that one. Seems you like good debate here. I don't believe you should ever be given an option to buy it. Even though I know my parents were given that option stupidly by the Dublin Corporation who sold all the land off and the houses off. I don't believe you should ever be given an option to buy it. It's council housing, state housing. When you pop your clogs, it should be given to somebody else.
Yeah, but if you can afford, as the years get better and as things get better, when you've been given that start and you do improve your life, instead of the home being taken from you a year after when you get assessed because you got a job, now they're going to actually never give you the option of achieving something for yourself by buying it. So
no, hang on. But that's the disadvantage of being in council housing. You will never own it.
Right. Well, here's the other thing that I want to say.
Do you want to? Well, just answer that. I mean, I'm just saying to you, you don't. When you're living in council housing, you don't own the house. You're renting it.
No, but having had the option to buy it gave people an incentive to be inclusive in society by providing and contributing to society and buying it.
Okay.
It was just a different way of giving them a start.
Okay. So let Eamon. He wants to respond there to you. Sorry, Pauline. Hang on, Eamon. Go ahead.
You know, it's me, sorry, is it?
Yeah, go ahead, Eamon. Yeah.
You know, what was good? Like, I find it funny how she's saying there, oh, there's no option to buy a house, all this kind of stuff. We should have the option to buy the council house. The state owns those houses. They're giving you the house because you can't afford to rent privately. You shouldn't have the option to buy the house. If you want to buy a house, use the Help to Buy scheme. Buy a derelict house, do it up, you get about 60 grand off the government back. That's a nice little house for you. But there's no argument in this day and age to justify a council selling a council tenant a council house. They're there for people that need a house, not for someone to go in, pay their rent for 40 years, then turn around and say, oh, I paid my rent in this council house for 45 years. I want to buy this at a discounted rate. I want all my past 45 years in rent put towards the money that will be given to me for the house. Or they would give for the house.
They're basically doing the same
ludicrous.
thing. They're basically, it isn't ludicrous.
It is ludicrous.
They're doing the same thing by getting you to let what they've provided you with to provide them with an income. And you're also contributing. So you're just renting a room in a house by the sound of it. Can I just say this? As far as I'm concerned, what I can see about this is to do with an amendment, a constitutional amendment, the 39th amendment of the Constitution, the right to housing and the bill.
So what? Like the right to own a 3-bedroom house?
Hold on a second. The bill has been put through in 2020.
Go on.
And what you will be doing now is you let a room in your council house is putting up your hand to show the county council. It may be that you bought your house, your county council years ago, or never did, but rented it years ago from them, and you're still in it 25 years later, you're now going to be putting up your hand to say, the house that you gave me 25 years ago, I only use one room in it and I'm letting the other. So you're actually targeting yourself and showing them who doesn't need the room in the house that they have now.
Yeah, they probably don't need the house they have.
Pauline,
Yeah, well, okay, Pauline, hang on. Let Eamon finish what he's trying to say there as well, Pauline.
Yeah.
Niall. Pauline said there that there's a right to housing in the Constitution. Of course there is. That's why
There's not. But by the way, can I just clarify? There isn't a right to housing in the Constitution. There's a right to shelter.
Okay. There we go, Pauline. Read the Constitution. There's a right to shelter. The government are giving you shelter in the form of a council house. They're not giving you a house free of charge to live in. Wouldn't that be lovely if everyone got a free house? No. You have a council house to live in. You can pay a subsidised rent based on your ability to pay rent.
With the option.
Well, no, I don't believe you should have the option to sublet unless you pay tax on it. But go on,
What you're trying to do.
Yeah, I know, but I don't believe you should unless you pay tax on it. I don't agree with the government's idea.
Right. Well, let me just say why I think they're doing this. Okay, is to get you to put your hand up and say.
No, that's not why they're doing it. No, that's not why they're doing it, Pauline. They're doing it to get themselves out of a housing crisis.
No, they're not. They wouldn't be bringing in people.
And you know why there's in a housing crisis? Because we don't have any housing stock, because we sold it all off back in the 1970s and 80s to people in Dublin Corporation. That's why we have a housing crisis. We need to keep housing stock. We need to stop selling it to people.
Anyway, the new bill also, where a person owns their own house, gives the Constitution now will be changed and gives the government the right to take a home owned by the couple from the couple for the good of the people and put them in a bed sit if need be.
Why would you do that? They own the house. They bought it themselves out of their own money.
That's what the 39th Amendment of the Constitution.
No, it's not.
The right
no,
to
it's
housing.
Not.
2020.
Pauline, go away and read the Constitution.
I think you need to read the Constitution and you need to read the amendments, Pauline. There's no suggestion that the government will have the right to take somebody's house, private housing, if they own it.
Right, if they put that through, that they will have.
Yeah. That's some sort of conspiracy theory there that you're coming up with there now. Well, hang on for a second, Pauline. Let me just go to Michelle. You're on Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. There is a full moon out tonight. Hey, Michelle. Michelle.
Hi, Niall.
Oh, there you are. Eventually. Yeah, Michelle, hi.
Yeah.
I think you have the wrong person. I'm Michelle.
Oh, who's that?
Hello.
Yeah, Michelle, go ahead.
Hey, Niall. I actually think that for this to happen, if this did happen rather, and as I said in a voicemail there, I am a council tenant.
Yeah.
I wouldn't really rent out a room, but I do think it's a slippery slope to going down the road of the British government of this spare room tax.
Yeah.
Or if you don't want to pay the tax, well then they'll move you to a smaller premise. Now, I kind of get both sides of the argument. I understand that if when my kids are gone, if I'm in a 3-bedroom house, I understand that a family need it more than I do. But if you think about it, we say, for instance, you're talking about a 70-year-old person. They've lived there for 40, 50 years. All their support is there.
Yeah.
Yet they have to move into a smaller property, maybe in a different area. They've no support. Their family aren't around them, most likely. You know, that's not fair.
Well, see, I spoke about, I did.
Council house or any other
I know,
house.
Michelle. And Michelle, I do understand what you're saying. And I spoke to Carl Dieter on the air about this during the day, going back a few months ago. And I did say at the time, you can't just, turf Mary out, who might be a widow, say, for example, and all her kids have moved on and she's in a 3 or 4 bedroom house. You can't just turf her out and say you're going down, pardon me, to some little granny flat, 40 miles away. You can't do that, right? But the council should be there and the state should be there to support people and build in the community they live in. But, I mean, if you're 70 years of age...
But there's nothing being built ananyway. No,
yeah, but Michelle, when your kids move out, you really don't want to be in a larger house, paying larger electricity bills and everything else, when you only might want something small. Do you know what I mean?
No, I don't think so. I think most people who've lived in their house for 40 or 50 years want to stay in their home till they die. And, okay, they might have a spare bedroom or 2 spare bedrooms, but, I don't know. My mother always allowed us to come up and stay, or always had her kids. She'd mind her kids. They always stopped over. So, the rooms, all right, they're not being fully occupied all of the time, but they're being used,
but
by
they're not
that
being
family.
occupied. That's why there's a housing crisis.
No, they're not being occupied.
So,
and I think you're wrong. hang on, we don't live in a society at the moment that has a caste system. So for you to say that, no, and you too, Niall, to say that a person hasn't got a right to buy a council house, that's like saying in India, if you're a shoemaker, your father was a shoemaker, you'll only ever be a shoemaker.
No, that's no. Hang on, hang on, Michelle. Let's clarify things here. Nobody was saying that people who live in a council house don't have a right to buy a house. Of course, they have a right to buy a house. Everyone has a right to buy a house. But the council house is owned by the state. It's part of the housing stock owned by the state, or the housing executive, as they call it in Northern Ireland. It's owned by the state. And the whole idea of that housing stock is to provide housing for people on low income or people who are unemployed or can't afford a home. That's the way the housing stock works. And it would be good to hang on to that housing stock. There is no obligation of the state to sell the house to you eventually at some point. That's like saying a landlord has an obligation to sell you his house. He doesn't.
No, but there have been schemes that have came out in the past, and there hasn't
But not
always
anymore.
been. Well, I don't know. A couple of years ago, there was a scheme. If you're on X amount of money, you know, you're below a threshold, you got it at 60% or 50% or 80%
Of the value.
Your income. Your income is compared to the value, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know. So
why? But Michelle, let me work this out with you, right? And I don't want people to think I'm having a pop of people in council house. I'm not. I was raised in a council house, for feck's sake, right? So what I'm saying to you is, what is the point in us going bonkers, building loads of social housing and council housing, which is what we're trying to do at the moment, social housing, council house, same thing, right? Building loads of and then selling it to people eventually. What's the point? There's no point. The whole idea is that we have a housing stock going forward for the next generation of people who may not be able to afford a home, etc., for them to move into. In other words, when you pop your clogs, Michelle, and I hope it's not anytime soon, when you pop your clogs and your kids have all moved on, that house is then given to another family to use.
Right, fair enough. I get that, Niall. I really do get that point. But the guy that's on the other line, sorry, I didn't catch his name.
Eamon is his name.
Eamon. Okay. Eamon said, I mean, when you pop your clogs, it should go to a family. What about if I pop my clogs and my daughter is still living here? What happens then?
If your daughter, Michelle, if your daughter's still living there, then you're perfectly entitled to live there because the rooms are being occupied, they're being used.
No, the way it'll work. No, the way it works at the moment is if Michelle, I'm sorry, Michelle, and I hate to say you're popping your clogs because it sounds very rude to me, but if anything did happen to Michelle and her daughter was over the age of 18 and she was living in the home, she would have to then be assessed to see if she was entitled to stay in the house. And I don't even know if they allow that still. I don't think that's the case.
It's a good few years back now. When my grandmother died, my uncle was living there. And he wasn't allowed to stay there. Now, he was always on the rent. He always lived there. He wasn't allowed to stay there because he was one person. Like, my nanny had her kids, obviously, and that's how she had
of course.
He
Yeah.
was one
But
person.
that's logical, isn't it?
And they were offering him a one bed.
But but he's one person. What does he want? That's the way it works.
You're putting someone out of their home. The home that they've known all of their life. He'd have been in his 30s then.
Okay, sorry, Pauline hang on. Pauline just wants to say something else before she heads off. Sorry, Pauline, go ahead.
It's very hard to hear you now. The line's bad. But,
Yeah, I think it's yours.
Like I said, what is mentioned is the 39th Amendment of the Constitution.
You've said that already, Pauline. Yeah, you said that.
Okay.
Yeah, you've said that already.
You said I should have a read of it, but I actually have the brochure on it in my hand.
The brochure?
And, yeah, it's the leaflet. Sorry, a brochure or leaflet.
Where did you get the brochure / leaflet? Where was it?
I don't know. I picked it up somewhere.
www.somethingorother.com. Where did you? Was it from the government website?
Yeah, you can look it up.
Or was
on
it
the
from Joey on
website.
Facebook? I'm just curious.
Oh, no. It's www.oroptus.ie.
Okay.
And it's still 2020. You can look it up.
Okay. And read the bit that just very quickly, because I don't want to go, we're gone off on a tangent, but read the bit very quickly where you stated that in the new amendment to the Constitution, which by the way hasn't been voted on yet, we'd have to have a referendum, but on the new amendment it states that they can take a couple from a private, somebody privately owned. For the common good.
For the common good. Even if you own it.
Okay, where does it say? Can you read that bit out?
Pardon?
Can you read that bit out that says that?
Can I read that bit out that says that?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on a second.
Oh, I thought you'd be prepared. Sorry.
To get to... No, I'd have to go through the whole...
Yeah.
I'll try and find...
I don't think it actually says that, Pauline, anywhere, with the greatest respect.
No, load of
right, here we go. The
Oh.
bill...
Oh, here we go.
To
Here we-
limit
Okay.
the protections given to the private property owners in favour of the common good which does allow, even under the Constitution.
No, hang on. Read the
government.
Yeah, read the line. Now read the line again you've just read. Read the line you've just read. The first line you've
That's
just
the line I've just read.
No, go back a little bit there. Just so the protection of the what? So read it again. That bit.
Right. Here's what I've just read to you. It says, the bill also seeks to delimit the protection given to the private
That's not
property owner.
okay. Now, it says you've just quoted something you've read off a piece of paper. It says the bill also says, right? So you've read that off the piece of paper. So clearly you're not reading that from a government website. That's somebody's view or opinion of it.
No, so I'm reading it. To you.
Yeah, but it doesn't say on a government website the bill also says. It doesn't say that on a government. There's no government website would have grammar like that. The bill also says.
Okay, I'll photocopy it and send it in.
Yeah, but that's just somebody's opinion of what the government website says. Yeah,
that's if it's
their
past.
interpretation of it.
It's very hard
jeez,
to hear you. That's
yeah,
if it's past, Niall. So you'll have to look it up.
Fake news.
Okay,
Come on.
Yeah, thanks, Pauline. Appreciate it. Let me just go. Sorry, Michelle and Eamon. Sorry for keeping you both there. Let me go to Brian there. Mine's blowing. It thinks it's a full moon out tonight or something like that. Sorry, Brian, you're not. It's Classic. It's radio. How you doing, Brian?
How you doing? I know that.
Good.
I don't think that'd be like with the social people like paying 14,000. What the social welfare like get a hold of that now and they say like they'll need test people and or like they'll get it back somewhere off. Like now like a lot of people like you say if they're paying 14,000 like the social welfare will grasp on that and say, oh, you're mean tested, so your social welfare card will be affected and your medical card will be affected. You know, maybe that popular or like with it.
Well, no, they're saying that you'll be, well, now they haven't put it through yet, but they're saying that you'll be earn up to 14,000 a year from the rooms in your house and you won't be taxed on it, and I'm assuming it won't be declared as income.
Yeah, I know it won't be taxed on it, like Brian saying with the social welfare, no, sure, one day.
Now, the social welfare be saying you've got 14 grand now, you don't need as much off us.
Their income to enter the house, it will go up obviously, so they'll catch it.
I don't think so, no. I don't think anybody will be aware of it. And anyway, most people who are renting out rooms are doing it for cash at the moment. So they're not declaring it anyway.
But
can I get back in there for a second?
Yeah, Michelle, you should rent out a room, Michelle. Loads of people are doing it.
No, I wouldn't. And first of all, everyone is saying, oh, well, the social welfare. And I've heard people, and yourself included, saying, oh, well, you're only paying about maybe 30 quid a week.
No, I didn't say that.
80 quid a week.
I didn't say 30 quid a week. Okay. I said up to 350. Some people are paying, yeah.
Well, I think one of the callers must have said it. I pay nearly 80 quid a week.
Yeah.
I'm here on my own with a child.
Yeah.
I'm the only earner in the house. I don't get any social welfare. I get child.
Yeah, but all I'm saying, and all I said to somebody earlier on, and I'm not saying it as an insult, right? I'm just saying 80 quid a week is not bad for a house. Do you know what I mean?
I'm not saying it is not.
No, it's really good. And the reason it's really good is because it's subsidised by the state, yeah.
I know, but a lot of people are saying, these people in, I don't know, I don't know if it was in comments or whatever, social welfare. I don't get any social welfare. That's based just on my earnings. So, you know what I mean? I don't get social welfare. I've worked since I'm 54 years of age. Almost.
Good for you. No, good for you, Michelle.
I'm 15.
Yeah.
15, I start paying tax in this country. So I'm not saying, all I'm saying is I'm only getting back what I've paid in. That's all. I'm not getting, no one out there who's working is keeping me now. I keep myself. So this crap that, social housing, social welfare, they don't work in hand. There's a lot of people in social housing that actually work and are trying like everyone else to keep their head above the water. I put in the voicemail about a voice note, whatever.
Well, do me a favour. Hang on, Michelle. Tell me about your voice note after the break because I have to go to a break. The number's 087 188 0008. Stay there, Michelle. Stay there, Eamon.
Ireland's Classic Hits Radio.
They're all crawling out of the woodwork now with their posts. That girl is correct, Niall, what she said about the amendment to the Constitution of Ireland. Let me just read the amendment, okay? It says here, and it doesn't says, it says, because that's what I said to Pauline. You must be reading it from somewhere because she read the words, it says. Anyway, the state accordingly shall delimit the right to private property, which is a little bit different to what Pauline said, where it is necessary to ensure the common good and to vindicate the said right to housing for all residents of Ireland. Now, that doesn't mean they have the right to walk in and take a house off Mary and Jack, who've just paid $350,000 for it. No, but what they can do is they can delimit or restrict the right to buy private property. I don't necessarily agree with that, by the way, but I'm just saying it doesn't mean they can go and take houses off people. That's not what that means. And if anybody who interprets it that way, I think they've got it very wrong. Anyway, sorry, Eamon and Michelle. Getting back to you, Michelle. Sorry, with the message you sent in before the break, Michelle, you said you sent in a message. What was it?
Earlier on, you were talking about Trump before the news, before the 10 o'clock news, and
Yeah.
the guy got on and started talking about housing, and you were saying, like, I mean, why don't these people just get a mortgage? I'm not in a position to get a mortgage.
No, I know.
So
It's not that
obviously-
easy. No, it's not that easy.
That was, I know, but that was a, a quite ignorant thing to say. I mean, I have a mortgage. Why can't everyone get a mortgage?
No.
If everyone could get a mortgage, wouldn't life be wonderful?
Real people, real opinions, Real Talk Radio. The multi-award winning Niall Boylan Show.